What's up, Tanner J-Man Show Nation? This is Tanner Lee, one half of the Tanner J-Man Show, and on behalf of myself and my co-host Josh the J-Man Munt, we appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you're a new listener to our podcast, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts at. If that happens to be on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review, as that helps us out a bunch. Watch our podcast live every Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on the ISC Sports Network, and make sure to give us a like on Facebook and a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy some hot takes, topics, picks, and more on a brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show.
We are back with another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show on this beautiful April. What is the date? Is it the 10th?
It is 11th.
April 11th day here, Lockport, Illinois. Tanner's live from Rochester, Indiana. How you doing out there, T-Dog?
Doing pretty good. It's a balming 58 degrees. Actually, it doesn't feel too bad out, but it's cloudy. One of those overcast days, so it's not the nicest day out, but feeling good. I still have yet to hit a single golf ball this year, J-Man.
I was literally just about to ask if you've been able to hit the links here. Of course, it's been kind of terrible weather on weekends, it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like even the weeks that are decent, the weekend comes and it's cold or it's rainy.
Yeah,
and I mean, I got this brand new putter for Christmas. I've yet to hit a single putt with it, so I'm getting very anxious. I think it's supposed to be high 60s tomorrow and Wednesday, so hopefully I can get out a little bit, because the itch is real, especially after watching the Masters over the weekend.
Oh, I bet. You probably have golf leagues starting here pretty soon, too, don't
It will
you?
be about a month from now.
Oh.
Yep, kind of mid-ish, early May. So, yeah, we'll and got some work scrambles coming up next month, so gotta get it going.
Gotta get your game in that mid-70s like you usually.
Oh, not last year. The handicap just keeps going up and up. But how about yourself? I mean, I know you're not a golfer, but any slow pitch softball or anything going on this spring or summer for you?
Haven't really looked into it. That's a really good idea, though, because me and my fiance desperately need to make friends here. But slow pitch softball. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's pretty fun. I had a good time playing slow pitch softball in Iowa. I was in a few leagues. It was really fun.
Good deal. Looks like we are live on the ISC Sports Network, of course, and on their Twitter, but I'm not seeing it on Facebook as of now. So just to let everybody know, that might be. Well, I guess if they're looking for it on Facebook, they're not going to hear this. So that was kind of pointless. But
you got some birdie bogey for me?
I do. That is one thing I do have. Let me get the banner up here. Got a baseball one for you. And we are tied. We are both 3 over par on the year for Birdie or Bogey. Went back last week and checked all of the Birdie bogeys from the year to date. So we are tied. Baseball. 3 guys in MLB history have hit 8 homers on opening day.
8 homers.
One of those, Frank Robinson.
Okay.
The other 2 have played in our lifetime.
8
Who are those 2?
On opening day? That's a really good question. I have a couple guesses. I can't imagine they're active players. You probably don't want to give me that.
Maybe not.
Maybe that doesn't help me at all.
I know. Well, get one gets you a par, 2 gets you a birdie, 0 gets you a bogey.
Birdie Bogey brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get your veggies.
Getting closer and closer.
Veggie season is almost here.
Yep.
I don't think the trees are budding yet, but it's got to be getting pretty close to that time of year. We want to start with some college basketball, just to kind of recap a little bit the national championship game, which for some reason that game last Monday feels like it was 2 years ago.
Doesn't it?
I don't know why that is.
Kind of the reason every year after it's on a Monday, it's late at night, and then I don't know if it's and now with the transfer portal and NIL how it is, it just seems like there's action going on every day. So.
It's always coincides with Major League Baseball starting, so that's kind of where my sole focus is. And then, of course, the Masters was this weekend. It usually is right around that time, so I think we just get caught up in those, and we don't realize that, man, that was only 7 days ago that game was played.
Yeah.
I know you didn't watch a whole lot, if any.
I watched the final, I think it was 30 or 35 seconds.
Mhm.
So that was the entirety of the
Yeah.
NCAA tournament I watched after Purdue lost to St. Peter's. Was that final?
It sounds like me last year when Illinois lost to Loyola.
We're not the best losers, Jay, man. We're kind of sore losers.
Yeah, when my team loses and their season's over, I don't really want to watch any other. This year was a lot easier for me than last year. But yeah, your position there, losing to a 15 seed in the Sweet 16, that kind of would sour you on watching any of it. But national championship game was really good. North Carolina got up. I think it was, I don't know what they actually got up in the first half. They were up 15 or so at halftime.
I think 16 was the most they were ahead of during the game. Yeah.
Yeah, they were up 15 at half, I know. But you could just tell within the first minute or two in the second half that Kansas was going to make it a game, because I think they cut it to 8 real quick. They just played harder. And I do think North Carolina kind of ran out of steam a little bit. I mean, they'd exerted so much energy previous 2 weeks, just even in the ACC tournament, that they just kind of ran out of gas. And Kansas was the better team. They played real rough there the first half, but they found a way to get it done, and it became one of the, I don't know if we'd call it a classic game, but it was a pretty dang good one.
Usually when Carolina's involved in the championship, even though it annoys me, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, unless they play Michigan State.
Yeah, okay. that was still that Michigan. Yeah, that was back in what, 2009 in Detroit.
Yeah, that was in Michigan too. Yeah.
Yep, Hansborough's last game as a Tar Heel. Anyways, Kansas was an interesting team this year. They were always pretty solid. They were one of the 4 number 1 seeds, but it seemed like nobody really took them for real for whatever reason that was.
Yeah. I don't know what the reasoning is. Maybe it's because Baylor won it last year and they got the other number 1 seed. And we had even said that for weeks coming up to the NCAA tournament. It just feels like Kansas is so underrated that no one was talking about them. And they were one of the top 4 teams in college basketball. And then, of course, they get an easier draw to the Final Four when they had their 2 seed lose Auburn, their 3 seed lose Wisconsin, which been on record saying Wisconsin was no better than a 7 seed this year, but they got a 3. They even had Iowa, who was rolling in a real sexy pick for the Final Four. They lose to Richmond in the first round. I think they did have to play the 4 seed Providence in the Sweet 16. But other than that, they got, of course, they played the 16 seed. And then they got Creighton in the round of 32. They got a 10 seed Miami in the Elite 8.
Who they were down to a half.
Yes. Yeah. Who they were down to, and then just whooped them in the second half. And then, of course, they played a really good Nova team, but an undermatched Nova team, especially with one of their better players blown out as Achilles in the Elite 8. So they had a pretty, I mean, it seems like it happens a lot where the run kind of sets up perfectly for the team that ends up winning it. And it set up really well for Kansas, not to take anything away from them, because they were a 1 seed and they found a way to get it done, but getting to play, an 8 seed in the national championship game is awfully fortunate.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But, it didn't even strike me until about last Tuesday or Wednesday when I was thinking about it. I'm like, wow, the Big 12s had back-to-back national champions.
Yeah.
I mean, the Big 12 was a pretty good basketball conference all year long. I feel like it still doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's always Big 10 and ACC.
Yeah, which is crazy because the Big 10 doesn't do anything in the NCAA tournament.
And I want to give kudos to you. I was going back today and updating our bowl predictions and highlighting the ones we've got wrong and red. You were correct in stating that no Big 10 team would get past the Sweet 16.
I was.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pat on the back for me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
you needed it because you were
you've
missed quite a bit already. So
yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know why the Big 12 isn't mentioned, but Kansas obviously has been good forever. Baylor's come on the last 5 or 6 years and become this power Big 12 team. They even had good years from like Iowa State over the past couple years.
West Virginia, probably about a decade ago now, but
yeah. Well, even just probably 3 years ago, I would say West Virginia got like a 2 seed, I think, in the NCAA tournament. They were really good one year.
Oklahoma State have had years.
Yep, they've had good years. Even Kansas State when with like Michael Beasley and those guys, they were pretty good. And even Bruce had some pretty good teams there.
Yep.
So I mean, they have some programs there that are good. And of course, Texas. We didn't even mention
TCU.
Texas.
I mean, Jamie Dixon's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
TCU
doing really well
yeah,
at TCU.
I mean, it's a pretty good conference.
It's a really good basketball conference, and now Texas and Oklahoma are, of course, leaving.
But they get Houston, who's good at basketball, and they get aren't they getting Cincinnati?
I think they are getting Cincinnati.
And a couple. Is there 4 teams joining that conference?
Will Kansas jump ship though?
I don't know where they'd go.
I think the Big Ten makes a ton of sense.
They're also getting BYU and UCF, so that's going to be a really good basketball conference.
Yeah. Does Kansas want to be in the same conference with a BYU or Central Florida? That's almost like the American Athletic, in a sense. Kansas could just, I mean, they'll win the Big 12 every year. Them and Baylor would be right up there. Kansas provides no value for football.
That's exactly the problem, because even though, I mean, join them in the Big Ten, it'd be just a super league for basketball. But I mean, you know, they got Rutgers, and Rutgers was bad at everything at the time just because of the TV market. But Kansas doesn't provide you a TV market.
Doesn't provide any sort of TV market. And you already have that market in Nebraska there anyway, in the Plain States. So that, I mean, it would literally just be, we're paying for your basketball. That would literally be it. Right.
So I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, heck, even the Big 12, it's not going to, I mean, of course they're going to take a huge hit in football with losing Oklahoma and Texas, but even those programs they're adding are pretty decent in football.
Yeah. I mean, Cincinnati was playoff team last year.
UCF likes to call themselves national champions a handful of years ago.
Houston's had good programs.
BYU's pretty solid usually, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
I'd love to see Gonzaga join a conference.
There have been rumors that maybe the Big East, because none of those schools have football.
Which just makes me laugh, and I know
makes zero sense.
Geography doesn't matter anymore. But are you kidding me? The Big East? I mean, a team from Spokane, Washington, to the Big East.
It would be a major test, because they would literally have to fly it, which they probably have to fly everywhere now.
Right.
But you're talking at least a 2-hour time change each time you're flying.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be massive for them. And, you know, Mark Few has never really shied away from competition. That's why he loads up his non-con. So he has to, for one.
It'd make more sense for them to go to the Pac-12.
Yeah, but again, they don't have a football program.
That's true. That's true.
No D1 football program anyway. I don't know.
That's true. And the Big East is pretty much all basketball conference.
Maybe same with Mountain West too. Like, they have a lot of good football programs there. Gonzaga doesn't have one.
Yeah.
That would be the real only reason why they'd go to the Big East. Like, that's the only fit in a sense, unless some conference is okay with not having any sort of football revenue from them.
Right. So when you go back, I guess Illinois fandom put aside, what will you remember most about the 2021-2022 basketball season, college basketball season?
College basketball season as a whole.
Yeah.
Obviously,
or anything.
It was Coach K's last year that got the headlines.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. As a whole, man, it's tough because I don't really care outside of Illinois.
I know.
It's really tough. Obviously, the NCAA tournament's going to be remembered for St. Peter's getting to the Elite Eight.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I think they'll be remembered more than Kansas will for winning the whole thing. And now St. Peter's roster is just gone. The coach is gone. Every player's transferring, it seems like.
Finally, I think, got a coach hired today, Wagner's coach. He's going to St. Peter's, yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a basketball budget of what, $1.5 million. They play in a high school gym, essentially. So good luck winning there. I mean, that means Shaheen Holloway did an unbelievable job to even get him to the tournament, and then obviously do what they did. But
they were saying today that it was a known fact behind closed doors. He was getting that job before they beat Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean,
he's an alum. And the thing I didn't realize, he was an assistant there and one of their top recruiters for 4 or 5 years before he took the St. Peter's job.
Makes sense.
But yeah, and I'm sure the players knew that too. So they kind of wanted one last hurrah, and man, did they make the most of it for sure.
And I agree with the things you said. I think the other things I'm going to remember is just back to more normalcy this year, actually having a non-bubbled NCAA tournament, having fans. Also the NIL, the first year of the NIL, just seeing players get deals. The transfer portal, the first year of the portal without sitting out. If you're not a grad transfer, you don't have to sit out now when you transfer. So just things like that. That's gonna be the new norm going forward.
Yeah, I didn't even think about those. But yeah, as far as fans go, we kind of got used to there not being fans last year. But
now I can't go back and watch highlights from when
there's no way. Yeah,
it almost gives me anxiety.
Yeah, it's so quiet, and like I've gone back and watched highlights of Illinois games like in middle of January last year, and it's just like, how did they like Illinois won in Cameron Indoor last year, and it's just quiet. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest, strangest thing. And we were just kind of that was kind of the normal then.
We were just glad to have sports on.
Yeah,
something to talk about, something to watch. But it's like, credit to those players and coaches. I don't know how you get yourself pumped up. I guess just because that's all they had was to go play. Yeah. Besides that, their world was upside down.
They bubbled their team as much as possible. So this was their only time to get out, probably, too.
True.
And go play basketball and see other people besides their teammates and coaches. So players can get pumped up, but nothing like I'm sure that first game this year, the nerves were off the charts. Just having full arenas there. So
Yep. It was nice to see back, and basketball season will be here before we know it.
And there's really There's really no off season with college basketball.
Not anymore.
It feels like transfer portal and all of that. Over, what is it, like 1,200 players now are in the portal?
And we've seen more and more, especially around the Big Ten, enter their name in the NBA draft while keeping their eligibility to come back to college open. It's really interesting what's going to happen next few weeks.
I saw there was a surprise guy who put his name in transfer portal. It was SMU's best player who won AAC Player of the Year today. He put his name into the draft, but he also put his name into transfer portal, which is exactly what Kofi Coburn did last year. And then he obviously came back. And I think we'll see that more and more too, especially schools like, the AAC is a really good basketball conference, but you especially see guys like, man, I can make a ton of money if I go up a level.
Right.
I almost feel bad for the low and mid majors because their rosters just gutted at the end of the year. Which
kind of like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. My point.
It's kind of like we talked about when we started talking about the NIL. I think before college basketball started, it's like we'll probably never see a Steph Curry like player at Davidson ever again,
unless they do it their freshman year, and then he
gets them on a run in the NCAA tournament and wants to come back to college. He's going up a level to get more money.
Yep, it's not going to happen. And that's just the nature of it. It's free agency, but
it is. I don't like it, but it's not going anywhere.
At the same time, though, coaches are allowed to do it, so why can't players?
You're right. And I think there should have always been a outlier for that situation. But I don't like what it's turning into. It's supposed to be the player's supposed to benefit from their name, image, and likeness, from their brand. It's not we're going to try to get you $1 million to stay on campus or to come to our school, $8 million to come throw a football, aka Tennessee. That's not what it's. The NCAA or somebody needs to step in and put some parameters on this because it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Oh yeah, it's already getting worse.
I know.
And there's zero leadership at the NCAA, and if there is leadership, they're all corrupt anyway. So nothing's going to change.
That's true.
I'm glad the NIL is there. I think it really helps, and I think players absolutely should be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. It's 100 years coming, really. That it should have happened a long time ago, because they've made those schools so much money. But yes, to your point, it does seem a little wrong that a school's like, we're promising you $4 million if you come to our school. That just seems illegal to me.
Yeah. It just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. If they get sponsorship from a business or something, great. That's helping them out and helping the business out. But there's some lines already being drawn. I'm like, how is that? Legal. Really, it's not. But
and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are still working the system too.
Sure.
That I think teams could still be put on like probation, have the hammer dropped on them.
Yeah.
For doing seedy NIL deals in a sense.
So. The compliance is going to have to get more strict or a better, clear understanding on that. But I will say that I lost my train of thought. It was around the NIL, but I lost my train of thought.
Can't
I don't
help
know.
you.
I had a good one in my mind earlier. We were talking, and I was like, "Oh, I'll wait for it," but it'll come back to me probably when we move on to our next topic. But yeah, the Big Ten's had a lot of names in her portal. Yeah, the Tree Jackson Davis for Indiana's not in the portal, but he's one of those names that put his name in the draft, but leaving it open, the door open to come back to Indiana possibly.
Yeah, which, I mean, it makes sense. You lose nothing by doing that, as long as it's not his third time doing it, which I think it's his second time doing it.
I think so.
So yeah, he can come back easily, and I think he ultimately will, because he might get a two-way deal in the NBA. He could probably make more money at Indiana than what that would pay out to. Plus, again, he's a great athlete, long. Not sure there's a fit for him in the NBA, especially he's 6'9", 6'10". You got to be able to shoot the ball, and he can't outside of. I'm sure he can. He just refuses to.
If he's on the bubble of getting drafted, you think he should go? Because if he waits another year, he's another year older.
And that's the thing. And I think a lot of these guys really want to go pro, and a lot of them just want to bet on themselves anyway.
Yeah.
Which he could probably get a really good deal overseas, and who knows, maybe he can get an NBA contract. But it does make it more interesting with the NIL. I think a lot of those guys could think, man, maybe I should come back and make some pretty good cash in college. But I think he'll ultimately be back. No inside info. People know obviously more than I do, but I think he'll be back.
And I remember what I was going to say now. Now with NIL and everything in the portal all mixed in, you're seeing more players probably choose a school that's not necessarily the right fit for them, but the school that can make them the most money.
Yep, absolutely. Brad Underwood actually said it. He said when he's talking to a recruit, and the first thing they bring up is the NIL, I will hang the phone up on them. I don't want to hear about it. I want to have guys that want to come in here and win, not care about how much money they're going to make. So I assume I know there's some coaches that probably that's their recruiting pitch is NIL, and it makes sense. And I'm sure Underwood's huge pitch is also NIL, but he wants guys to have their priorities straight, where they want to come in and compete and win right away.
Right.
So, and yeah.
Right. And I think there's definitely coaches like that. I mean, I know Purdue's going after a guy who's a lot of people this SMU guy probably just changed that, but a lot of people have this guy towards the top of the transfer portal players. That's Nigel Pack from Kansas State. And, that's definitely more of a fit at Purdue than it is NIL, because not a lot of Purdue guys are taking advantage of the NIL, it seems. I think Purdue's a little behind, to be honest, on the NIL, and it's kind of concerning. But he's narrowed his list down to Purdue, where he visited late last week, Miami, Florida, where he visited over the weekend, and he's got one more visit up to Ohio State. On his list originally was Gonzaga and Arizona, but he cut them from the list, and that surprised me, because I'm like, he could probably get more NIL from those schools and more national pub, but maybe he's one of those outliers that's still trying to find the right fit for him with keeping his NBA dream in mind. So there's still a couple out there, but
I'm sure some kids absolutely want to go in, and they're going to make money regardless. So I want to come in. More exposure you have in the NCAA tournament, the better it is for you.
100%.
So like there's a guy, Brandon Murray, and I'm going to sound like a salty Illinois guy or Illinois fan here, but Brandon Murray transferred from LSU. His list was down to Illinois, Tennessee, and Georgetown. And he visited Illinois over the weekend, and he chose Georgetown today. Now, Georgetown did hire a former LSU assistant, I think his name's Kevin Nickelberry or something like that, who was his main recruiter. So that, I'm sure, had some influence. But you're going to walk onto a team or go to a team that went 0-18 in Big Ten or Big East play last year, instead of going to a team like Tennessee, who's been perennially a top 3 or 4 seed here the past few years. Illinois has been the best team in the Big Ten the past 3 years, record-wise. So you want to go in to Georgetown, where I'm not sure the NIL potential is nearly as high as it would be, especially at Tennessee, where they're just paying guys out the wazoo. And I think the NIL potential at Illinois is really high as well.
Right.
To go to Georgetown, where you're probably not going to get nearly as much publicity, money, and you're not going to win. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Patrick Ewing should have been canned last year or this season. So it's kind of interesting, and you wonder what's going on in some of these guys' heads.
Yeah. I mean, it's 18 to 22-year-olds, sometimes a little older, making decisions, and you just hope they're making decisions for them for the right reasons,
right,
and not for the wrong reasons. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
It's interesting. I mean, I'm sure Big Ten. We've seen more and more players from schools put their name in the portal, and some Big Ten schools. Not too many Big Ten schools really have got additions yet, though.
No, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, we've seen definitely some losses, but I haven't heard of really any top transfers commit to Big Ten schools yet.
Mm-mm.
That I can think
Not
of.
that I can think of.
Yeah,
off the top of my head. So I did. There's an interesting one. Former Purdue player now, Isaiah Thompson, came out with his final list of 5 schools, and they're all small mid-majors, and then there's Minnesota.
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Like it's Minnesota, Loyola Marymount, Grand Canyon. I don't recall the others off the top of my head.
He needs to drop down a level.
Yeah, I think Grand Canyon would be a good fit.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean Grand Canyon would be fun too. Was he recruited by Xavier out of high school?
He seems like the player that would have been, but I don't know that for sure.
Because Ben Johnson was a Xavier assistant. He's obviously at Minnesota now. So that might be the connection there. I'm not sure if he was or not.
Oh, I'm already convinced he's going to Minnesota and drop 30 on Purdue next year.
I don't think he's capable of dropping 30 on anyone.
If there's one game, it will be Purdue. It just that stuff happens to Purdue. I mean, yeah. So, hey, I think his career high was like 18 against Iowa this year. So, a little ways from 30, but it'll happen. It'll happen. But I'm not the biggest fan of the portal, but it's not going anywhere. So we got to get used to it. And in the COVID year stuff, I can't wait till we're done talking about the COVID year because it's very confusing. I'm not a fan of it.
A Florida player, Colin Castleton, who used to play for Michigan, started his career at Michigan. He's coming back for his 6th year. He's using his COVID year. Averaged, I think, close to 17 points a game for Florida last year. So that's obviously huge for them. But man, I mean, how long can a guy playing? I mean, Jalen Coleman-Lands, who started his career at Illinois, played there 2 years. Terrible teams at Illinois. Terrible teams in his 2 years at DePaul. He went to Iowa State last season, 2021. They won 2 games, literally 2 games the entire year. Transfers to Kansas, wins the national championship.
He got his ring.
He got his ring. It was quite the journey for old Jalen Coleman-Lands. But it was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, Purdue has a linebacker this year that I think he'll start for him. He's going in his 7th year because he was a Darrell Hazel signee, Josh.
Man,
he was either on campus 2015, if not 15, it was 16.
That's incredible.
I mean, he's had this is his COVID year. Last year, he got injured in camp for the year. That's how he kind of got one more year, or maybe last year was his COVID year, and the NCAA gave him one more medical year. I don't know. Somehow he's had retro years, medical years, COVID years. He's playing his 7th year this upcoming fall. So it's incredible. I mean, think how much older he is than an incoming freshman.
Could you imagine being 25 years old and hanging out with 18-year-olds? Heck, I'm 30 and I can't imagine myself hanging out with 25-year-olds.
Well, I had a college roommate do that, Josh. So
yeah, you did have a college roommate do that. And he somehow enjoyed our company. I don't get that.
Yes, he did.
We think anyway. I think he was just there because he had no other friends. But that's what I'm saying.
But no, I could not. To answer your question, that would be very difficult. But yeah, even though I'm happy, like it should benefit Purdue football with their quarterback come back for 6th year, I'm still not in favor of the rule. So.
No, and I think I said this last week. I think a lot of coaches are kind of okay with it going away as well.
Yeah.
It just creates a hassle numbers wise.
Yep.
Especially so.
100%. So, any more basketball talk before we?
I was not expecting to talk for 30 minutes about college basketball, but here we are.
Hey, we needed to fill in some time tonight, so it's the spring season's upon us. This is when we have to ramble a little bit.
This episode is brought to you by The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, Damn Landing is the place to be. The Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou, focused on freshness and quality. You can wash down their delicious beers with their delicious food with one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Take in the fantastic views of Lake Manitou and their beer garden or outdoor bar area. Whether it be boats or wheels, the Damn Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester.
Yeah, I'm pretty hungry. I haven't ate dinner yet.
Pretty hungry myself.
That sounds pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie. It always sounds good every week, but
are they open on Mondays? They were closed there for a while. I'm not sure.
I think they are. I can't say I go there very often on Mondays. It's hard telling in this small
pizza sounds pretty dang good.
Yes, it does. It's hard telling in this small town of Rochester, about population around 7,000, what's open on Mondays and what's not. More things than not are closed.
That's a good point.
Kind of frustrating. Yep. So,
you want to talk some Masters?
Yeah, let me do the on this day real quick before we get in there, since that has a lot of Masters related items in it today. Let's go back here. Okay. On this day in 1961, who won the NBA's 15th championship?
61?
Yep.
I am going to go the Boston Celtics.
You are right. They beat the St. Louis Hawks 4-1.
It's a pretty good guess to pick the Celtics in the 60s.
Yeah, it is. On this day, 1962, the New York Mets debuted in a losing effort. Doesn't say who they played, but
they're still losing 50 or 60 years later.
On this day, 1963, Milwaukee Braves future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Warren Spahn beat the New York Mets 6-1 for his 328th win, most by a left-hander in MLB history.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a lot of wins. On this day, 1965, who won the 29th Masters tournament?
65, I'm going to go Arnold Palmer.
Good guess. He and Gary Player were actually runner-up by 9 strokes to Mr. Jack Nicklaus, who won his second of 6 Masters titles. 17 under par, which used to be a Masters record for 4 days, but Dustin Johnson now has that. On this day, 1966, who won the 30th Masters tournament?
I'm going to go with Arnold Palmer.
Should have went with Jack again. Jack became the first back-to-back champion, win an 18-hole Monday playoff with Tommy Jacobs and Gay Brewer. On this day in 1971, who won the 35th Masters tournament?
71, I'm going to go with Arnold Palmer.
No, it was a guy named Charles Coody. He won his only major title by 2 strokes ahead of runners-up Johnny Miller and Jack Nicklaus. Never heard of him, to be honest.
I haven't either.
On this day, 1975, Hank Aaron returned to County Stadium as a Milwaukee player after his off-season trade from the Atlanta Braves. The Brewers beat the Braves 6-2. And that is funny because it doesn't say the Brewers beat the Braves, but I knew that. It says the Brewers beat Cleveland Indians 6-2. It's not correct there. On this day in 1976, who won the 40th Masters tournament?
76, I'm going to go with Jack.
No. See, I got you. I'm tricking you now. Raymond Floyd won his only Masters title, 8 strokes ahead of runner-up Ben Crenshaw.
Use my second guess. All right.
A few more Masters here. On this day, 1982, who won the 46th Masters tournament?
82, I'm going to go with Jack.
Good guess, but no. It's the Walrus. Craig Stadler won his only major title by defeating Don Pohl on the first hole of a sudden death playoff.
Oh, Craig!
I usually golf a golf course up in Michigan called Polecat, and Dan Pohl is the owner of that course.
You ever met him?
I've seen him there. I have not talked to him. My dad has, though. On this day, 1983, the 47th Masters was held. Who won that one?
83. That's got to be Jack.
That's got to be wrong. Seve Ballesteros of Spain won his second Masters and third major title, 4 strokes ahead of Ben Crenshaw and Tom Kite. It was a Monday finish because of a torrential rain. Let's see here. On this day in 1993, who won the 57th Masters tournament?
93. Yep. That's got to be Tom Watson.
Good guess. Bernard Launer, who still plays on the senior tour and plays at the Masters every year. He won his second green jacket by 4 strokes over Chip Beck. Winding down here on this day, 1999, who won the 63rd edition of the Masters tournament?
Tiger Woods.
Really good guess. Tiger was 97. Jose Maria Albathable of Spain won his second Masters title, 2 strokes ahead of Davis Love III and 3 ahead of Greg Norman.
I have never heard that name ever, and he won 2 Masters.
Yes. All right. We got how many more Masters? We got 3 more. 3 more to go.
All right. I'm going to get one of these.
Yes. On this day, 2004, who won the 68th Masters tournament?
Is that Phil?
It was Phil Mickelson. Yes. Claimed his first majors title with a birdie on the final hole to win by 1 stroke over Ernie Els. On this day, 2010, who won the 74th Masters tournament?
2010. 2010. I don't even have a guess.
Throw a name out.
2000. I'm trying to think. Sergio didn't win until like 2016 or something
Correct.
like that. None of the young guys were obviously on tour then. Who in the world? It wasn't Tiger. I don't know. I don't even have a name.
Phil Mickelson.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know him too.
Won his 3rd green jacket by 3 strokes over Lee Westwood. And lastly, who won on this day last year, 2021, who won the 85th Masters tournament?
Oh, crap.
Shoot. It was not, oh, crap, or shoot.
Oh, I know this too. I watched it.
He won over Will Zalatoris by a stroke last year.
That doesn't help me.
I know it doesn't, but I was throwing it out there.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Hideki Matsuyama.
I wouldn't have guessed him.
Who did make the cut this year, but he wasn't in contention.
I'm telling you what, man. When's the last? I think it's got to be the first time ever I've booked Rory and he's finished in the top 2.
That was his best Masters finish ever. Second.
All because of me. I'll take a top 2 finish.
And I'll talk about Rory here in a minute, but I want to let everybody know that the On This Day segment is brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated custom woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs. From signs to growth charts, their custom pieces make a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. To see some of their recently completed projects, visit their Instagram page at Mooney Woodcrafts or their Facebook page. And for orders, contact them at mooneywoodcrafts@gmail.com. And like always, I'm showing off our Tan and J Man Show logo sign from Mooney Woodcrafts.
I would like to see him make one of those, like in person, to see how he does it.
He sent me some Snapchats of like progress over time.
That's
and
cool.
it's pretty impressive. Yeah, he works on some really difficult designs. Yes, the Masters came to a close yesterday. Scottie Scheffler, the 25-year-old, became the third player 25 and under to win their first major, being the Masters.
Was he
joining Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth?
See the guy last week you were talking about just like a few weeks ago? He was whatever in the world, and then he won like 3 tournaments. He shot up to number 1.
Yeah, he was well ranked in the world. He was a Ryder Cupper last year, but coming into this season, he had never won. And since middle of February, he's now won 4 times.
It's insane.
Including a World Golf Championship and the Masters. It just shows you sometimes all a guy needs is that one win to break through, and then they're on fire. And I mean, he didn't even make it real interesting yesterday. I mean, some guys would get within 3 or 2, like Cameron Smith, and then he'd stuff one close, make a birdie. I mean, he just wasn't really making mistakes all week long until his highest score on a hole was hole 18 yesterday. He took a 6, which is a double bogey. He 4-putted, but he was up 5 strokes going into the hole. He still won by 3 strokes over Rory McIlroy. So, I mean, Scotty's a stud, man. I mean, he doesn't look like he's 25. He looks like he's in his 30s.
Yeah,
he's 25 years old. And I couldn't believe today when the odds came out for next month's PGA Championship. Jon Rahm's the favorite. Scottie Scheffler's tied with Rory McIlroy for second.
Huh.
Yeah, that just blew me. I'm like, how?
Rahm
how can you? I mean,
Rahm didn't play well either.
No, he made the cut, but he did not play well at all. I'm like, how can that guy not be the favorite? But Scottie Scheffler was, I mean, from Friday afternoon on, he was just nails all weekend long. And Rory made a run. I mean, Rory shot 64 yesterday. He was phenomenal yesterday. I don't know if I've ever seen a cooler scene on the 18th hole from a non-winning player than when he holds it from the bunker for birdie. I mean, the place go nuts. And his playing partner, Colin Morikawa, same bunker, holds it for birdie.
That's
unbelievable.
Cool.
Unbelievable.
Really cool.
And that got Morikawa into the top 10 as well. So, and it was cool. They were both cheering each other on. And it was nice to see Rory finally play well on the weekend at Augusta. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he'd like to have his round back on Thursday. But, I mean, he proves himself he can do it. I mean, he's got to keep knocking on that door.
He in the J-Man's time is coming.
It's coming. I had the tweet ready, but then he had such a good effort yesterday. I'm like, I got to put that tweet back in the holster because it's not like he didn't show up. He showed up in a big way. So, but fun Masters. I know a lot of people thought it was boring, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I always like it to get a little closer on the back nine on Sunday. You know, the old wives' tale, the Masters doesn't start till the back nine on Sunday because that's usually when fireworks happen. And it looked like it was going to. I mean, Cameron Smith had a big birdie on 11, gets within 3. He's teeing off first on the par 3 12, hits a god-awful shot that goes in the water. He ends up triple bogey in the hole. That just kind of took the air out of him, similar to what it did Jordan Spieth years ago, who Jordan Spieth, speaking of him, didn't make the cut this week. Bryson DeChambeau, who I picked to win, shot 12 over par, wasn't even close to making the cut. Brooks Koepka didn't make the cut. So definitely some big names didn't make the cut. One big name that did was Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Which is pretty dang impressive after almost dying in a car accident just 17
absolutely.
months ago.
I mean, he
almost having his leg amputated too.
He played pretty good round one. The rest of the week he didn't play that great, but just to be out there, you could tell he was really enjoying himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there was times he's like, I'm never gonna will potentially walk again. Oh. Never gonna play golf again. Never gonna be at Augusta again. Here he was able to play 72 holes on an extremely tough golf course to walk.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. He did say he will be at the Open Championship come July when it's at St. Andrews because that's his favorite golf course in the world. But he did not commit yet fully to the PGA Championship next month. He said he'll do everything in his power to get ready. But I do like how he's not committing right away to tournaments. He's going to see how he feels. Because I don't think we're ever going to see Tiger back in near a full-time schedule like he used to be. He's got to pick and choose his spots.
Yeah, he's going to come out for the big ones. He's going to come out for the majors. And which I mean he could do that easily. He's made enough money in his life.
Right.
But and I mean he wants to stay healthy too.
Right, and I mean his kids are getting older. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of factors there, but
his son will be golfing there on the tour pretty dang soon.
Yep, he's already doing well in the junior circuit. Mm-hmm. So it's, but it was good for the game of golf to see him. And it still was very weird to me not seeing Phil Mickelson out there at all. I mean, first one since '94, and no idea when or if Phil's going to return to golf this year. So just very, very odd. But fun Masters, a lot of interesting names that got into the top 12, including ties. So they're back next year. No matter what, but hats off to Scottie Scheffler, man. I mean, if golf fans weren't a believer of the guy before now, they better be after this
absolutely.
week.
Yeah, so, winning the Masters makes you a household name.
It changes your life.
Yeah,
I mean, it truly changes your life. So,
we've talked about this a bunch, but what would your meal be?
Hideki. Matsuyama had an interesting one. He had Wagyu beef.
Which Jordan Spieth said something like, no offense to anyone from Texas, but that's the best meat I've ever had.
I've heard it's unbelievable, but I don't know. I would probably be Tiger in '97 had like burgers, fries, and milkshakes. That's probably something I'd do. Good, yeah. That's probably something I'd do. There's chicken wings or something.
Yeah, there's no way it could be worse than Bubba Watson's when he had like chicken breast and mashed potatoes or something like that. Something boring. Twice he did the same meal twice.
a friend of the podcast, a former PGA Tour player and Circle 15 owner, Chris Smith, actually had this on his podcast last week saying what he'd choose. He said he'd go all like Indiana style, ham bread, tenderloins, green bean casserole, corn on the cob. What else? I don't remember what else he said. And then he said he'd have a Busch Light keg and Costco box wine.
That's the way to go.
He said it would be a meal that would be talked about forever of the Champions Dinner. But that's got to be one of the cooler traditions in sports.
Absolutely.
The Champions Dinner. It's a private club. You know, the stories never really get out of what happens or goes on in there and what's said or told. And it just is it's a really cool thing every year.
Yep. That is pretty cool. Pretty neat.
Yep.
So, is that all you got for golf?
That's all I got. Pretty quick and sweet this week.
Yes, sir. Baseball started.
Yeah.
We have one undefeated team. Can you name them?
No.
The Tampa Bay Rays are 3-0.
Who I picked to win the World Series.
Yeah, they were helped by facing the Baltimore Orioles, who turned around and got their first win today.
They smacked the Brewers, didn't they?
Against the Brewers, who are now 1-3. But as far as, this is a Cubs report is what we call it. This is what I call it anyway. Cubs look pretty dang good. I'm pretty pleased with the way their first series of the year went. I mean,
more positive tweets out of J-Man than negative, so that's always a good sign.
I've come in with zero expectations, and it makes it so much more fun to watch because you're not expecting to win. Especially, I mean, they became the first team since I think 1994 to start the season against 3 starting pitchers that were all-stars last year, the previous year. They faced Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta. The Cubs, in 12 2/3 innings against those guys, they had 13 hits, scored 13 earned runs, walked 12 times, only struck out 12 times, or walked 10 times, only struck out 12 times. Offense, much different profile. Now that they've traded some of those guys, Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo and Javi Baez, those guys away, they have guys that make a lot of contact. They'll sacrifice some power there. But it has proven so far, the first 3 games anyway, that they can grind out at bats, force the starting pitcher to throw a ton of pitches early, and get them out of the game early. Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, none of them went more than 5 innings. And I think Peralta, they knocked him out after 4. Brandon Woodruff knocked him out after 4. So they've been grinding out plate appearances, and it's really been fun to watch so far. They've had some standout performers. Seiya Suzuki has been sensational so far. He's walked, I think, 5 times already. He's only struck out 4 times. Hit a 3-run bomb yesterday. The ball was hit at 114 miles an hour. Hit it over 430 feet. And he became the 4th Cubs player ever with 6 RBIs in their first 3 career games. You've heard of 2 of these guys. Jorge Soler did it in 2014. Starlin Castro did it in 2010. Of course, he had 6 RBIs in his first career game. Then Larry Hoffman, the Hoffman, back in 1901. I've never heard of him. But offense so far has looked really pretty dang good.
He's going to be a fan favorite, isn't he?
Already is. He's hilarious, too. They asked him why he gave his first career hit ball to his mom and dad. And he said, I thought it was a really special moment to be able to share that with my parents. Also, I would definitely lose it, and they will not lose that ball. So that's why I gave it to him. So he's pretty funny. They asked him on the Jumbotron, they asked something about touring the United States, who he would like to take with touring, or who he would want to give him a tour of the United States. And he said Beyonce, but his wife wouldn't be too happy about that. His wife was an Olympic gymnast for Japan for two Olympics. So pretty dang athletic family they have there. Yeah. And he's played so well so far. You never know how Japanese players are going to translate their game into facing major league pitching, where the velocity is much higher, stuff's a lot better. But so far, so good for Seiya Suzuki. Cubs starting pitching's been good as well. Kyle Hendricks, Justin Steele, and Marcus Stroman combined in 15 1/3 innings to have a 1.17 ERA. Bullpen struggled so far. I think they have a pretty solid bullpen. It's just going to be kind of a struggle getting guys you can trust out there right now. And Ross is just going to have to figure that one out, which I assume he will. But so far, so good. Taking 2 of 3 from the team that's projected to win the division or be right up there is a pretty solid start for the Cubs.
This isn't a fair question, especially because the Cubs just took 2 of 3 this weekend, and it's so early. But this is, I don't know. When you said David Ross, this is just where my brain went. What do you think would have to happen for them to get rid of him, or is there just nothing outside of something off the field?
He just signed a contract extension.
Okay,
just like a month ago, I want to say, or maybe it was before the lockout. I don't remember. It would have to be. They just don't trust him to develop the younger players because they have some guys coming up that could be up this year, which Ross, by all intents and purposes, is a really good clubhouse guy. Players seem to love him, and he seems like he's done a really good job with this group. The group's under-talented. I don't think there's a record that you put, like, say the Cubs lose 90 games, he's for sure gone. I don't think they have that sort of benchmark he has to hit in order to be fired or retained or anything like that. I just think they need to see some progress with some of the younger guys. And I think next year, assuming all goes according to plan this year, they could compete again for the NL Central. They're 2-1, obviously 159 games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to overreact to winning the first series of the year. They did start 2-0 for the first time since 2016 though. So that might mean something.
Could be an omen.
Who
do they got this week?
They have Pittsburgh for 2 in Pittsburgh starting tomorrow, and then they go to Colorado for 4. Which
take on old Chris Bryant already.
Yeah, old Chris Bryant who dropped a fly ball yesterday that cost the Rockies 3 runs. But yeah, they took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. From the Dodgers. Colorado's a real tough place to play. Cubs have not had much success there over the years, and I assume their pitching is just going to get banged around pretty good. The Rockies' offense isn't very good. Cubs' offense isn't very good. Both teams will probably finish towards the bottom of their divisions.
You would think
at the end of the year, but crazier things have happened. But kind of glad Cubs are getting that series out of the way early.
Yankees took 2 of 3. From the Red Sox.
They got down early in the first inning. Game 1 came back and won in extras, and then won on Saturday as well, and then lost last night.
Yeah, last night was frustrating. I watched the last couple innings, and the Red Sox were just waiting on them for the last 3 innings, and New York just couldn't capitalize. So,
the Chicago White Sox are 2-1. They lost a heartbreaker in Detroit in Game 1. Blew a couple leads, and then Javi hits a ball off the wall that the whole stadium thought AJ Pollock caught it, but it clearly hit the wall first. So that was kind of fun to watch. Other than that, though, a ton of rookies, and that's actually going to lead into my word association here. I still have to do a book it as well. Actually, I'll do my book it right now. Cubs play 6 games this week. I think they at least split against the Pirates and Rockies. At least that's kind of what anytime you go on the road, you want to play 500 ball on the road and then above 500 at home, you're probably going to be pretty good. Obviously going to be pretty good. But I think Cubs split this week, go at least 3-3. I don't think they'll go more than 3-3 though. I will say that. J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watchering for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watchering@infb.com. There have been
How did his Reds do this week?
Reds, I think, went 2-2. They're 2-2 against the Braves. They had their top prospect, Hunter Green, start yesterday. He's throwing 102 miles an hour. He's looking like going to be a future stud, unfortunately. But yeah, they're 2-2, which
they'll
actually
screw it up, J-Man. They'll screw it up.
They'll probably be really bad anyway. Actually, with Hunter Green starting yesterday, this brings me into word association. I have some notable number 1 overall prospects in Major League Baseball that you would know over the past couple years here. Starting with Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, he's lived up to his hype. I mean, his daddy was an exciting player for us growing up to watch. What I always loved about Vlad was no batting gloves. I thought that was just a man's man, and he was fun with the Expos and then with the Angels, and then he also played with the Rangers and the
he was with Baltimore for
Baltimore. Yep. Couldn't think of that other team.
Their body types could not be different.
No.
Vlad Sr. was so lanky and skinny, and Vlad Jr. is just he's got some beef on him for sure.
They're not like the fielders who had similar body types.
Yeah. That's a good point. Ronald Acuna.
Exciting player. I mean, still exciting player for Atlanta. It was awful last year when his knee went out, and his team still won the World Series. But glad to see him back on. Or is he back yet, or got to be back
No,
soon?
they hope he's back by June.
Okay.
He had
So
some pretty strong comments about Freddie Freeman recently as well, about how he did not have a good relationship with Freddie at all, which is kind of interesting to hear. But
yeah. Hope to see him on the field soon.
This one, I assume you'll know him, but I'm not sure. Andrew Benintendi.
Heard the name, but I couldn't say anything except he has a cool name.
Red Sox. Yeah, he was out of Arkansas. The rest of the guys you should know. Corey Seager.
Yeah, nails. I mean, he's been solid every year. Seems like since he got in the league.
Yep. Chris Bryant.
I mean, former MVP. Just a cool dude, nice guy. Fan favorite everywhere he goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's already being loved in Colorado, and I got a surprise for you one of these weeks on the podcast, J-Man.
Yeah, all right. Byron, oh my gosh, you buy a Chris Bryant jersey?
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh my gosh, you are insufferable. You know that?
I am a pretty bad guy. Yeah.
Byron Buxton.
I always liked his name for one.
Yeah.
But this is really bad. But who's he play on again?
He's with the Twins.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Twins. I couldn't remember.
He hit a ball yesterday. It was 100-mile-an-hour fastball, letter high, and he somehow hit it out. I have no idea how he did it.
I remember him being on the cover of the prospect book. He used to get.
Yep. Bryce Harper.
Oh, I mean, heard about the kid when he was like 14 years old on like Sports Illustrated. I don't even know if it was Up and Comers or whatever it's called. He was supposedly hitting balls off the back of the wall in Tropicana with a metal bat and just ridiculous things. And he's lived up to the hype and probably more. He's very good and very fun to watch.
Yep. I have a couple more here. We only have 4 minutes left, so we got to make this quick. Jason Hayward.
He's been in the league forever. I mean,
it was his 12th consecutive opening day start.
Good player, but I really thought he was going to be one of the game's best until he got hit in the face.
Yeah.
He's still been good since, but it's really definitely changed him, I think.
He's been terrible for the past few years anyway. Jay Bruce.
Oh, gosh, somebody I forgot about. I feel like I had to hear about him every week for a long time.
Yeah. Daisuke Matsuzaka.
I thought about him the other day in the gyro ball.
Gyro ball. I was trying to think.
Good pitcher, but didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, he didn't live up to the hype at all. You're going to love this one. Joe Mauer.
Pretty swing baseball. Pretty swing of everything. Circa Josh the J-Man Munt in 2010.
I choked so hard. Mark Teixeira.
Big Tex. Last Yankee jersey I bought. He's a fun one, and I liked him as an in-studio analyst. But I don't know. Does he still do that?
I have no idea.
I haven't seen him on anything lately. So
he was an ESPN guy, and I try to stay away from ESPN when it comes to their baseball coverage.
Yeah, probably pretty smart.
Yeah, Josh Beckett.
Oh man, I know he was a good Red Sox, but I think of that Marlins team in 03.
Yeah,
when he kind of arrived, and him and Dontrell Willis and Miguel Cabrera and Mike Lowell and all those guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Juan Pierre.
Yeah, their pitching staff had like AJ Burnett.
Another one. Yeah,
Carl Pavano. Yeah, they were stacked.
I couldn't tell you who was the closer on that team, but
it was. They had Pudge Rodriguez too. I didn't even think about him.
Yeah, Pudge. Yeah. Wow. That was
I don't remember their closer. Josh Hamilton.
Oh man, the home run derby in the Yankee Stadium. I mean, I know what a comeback story. I mean, he's wrote a book, but that home run derby in 08 in Yankee Stadium was just unbelievable, even though he didn't win it.
Yeah. Final one here, Rick Ankiel.
Oh, what a horrible pitcher, but a cool comeback story that he transformed into an outfielder. Great hitter when he was a pitcher, but he was not good.
I was just watching highlights of him the other day when his yips started in the postseason against the Braves. It was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Real painful to watch. That's going to do it, though.
And that is the word association segment, which is brought to you by Performer Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for an next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Performer Print 2 Promo Group has been in business for over 50 combined years in promotional, and they have experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call today at 574-210-3815.
Hit me with that birdie bogey there, T-Dog.
All right. So Frank Robinson is one of 3 guys that have 8 opening day home runs. Who are the other 2 they have played during our lifetime?
I'm going to go with Ken Griffey Jr.
He has 1, so you at least got a par.
Manny Ramirez.
Not Manny. Good guess, though.
Is it A-Rod?
Not A-Rod. Another good guess. Big donkey, Adam Dunn.
Really? I would not have guessed Adam Dunn.
Yes. So, and
man,
I'm guessing both of them did most of theirs on the Reds. So.
Probably, maybe Griffey with the Mariners. It seemed like he was always too hurt to play.
That's true. Hamstrings.
That's a good trivia.
But you got a par, so we're still all knotted up at 3 over par.
Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. We'll be back at it next Monday for another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show. Have a fantastic week, everybody.